This video is going to go over the idea of unit conversions. Unit conversions are extremely valuable for things like sprayer calibration, but also just anytime you need to convert from one sort of unit to another. So converting miles per hour to feet per second, or converting gallons per acre to liters per hectare. Really, any sort of unit conversion can be done using this same method. And in fact, most of the sprayer calibrations sheets that you might find where it says multiply this by 742.6 in order to get this unit, they've actually done the exact same sort of math. They just haven't shown you all the details on how to get there. And so we're actually going to just go through the idea behind it and then go through one relatively quick example to show you how to do this. So unit conversions that we're going to learn about today really are based on two mathematical facts that involve multiplication or division by one. And they're really the same fact, just expressed two different ways. So the first part is that 1 times anything, and we're going to note anything by the letter X, 1 times anything equals itself. So it doesn't matter what you multiply by 1, you're going to end up with the same thing you had before. And expressed a different way, we also know that anything divided by itself equals 1. So these are the two facts that underlie all of the unit conversions that we're going to do. That you can divide anything by itself and it equals 1, and you can multiply anything by 1 and end up with the same thing you started with. So if we start adding numbers to this idea, we can say that 32 divided by 32 equals 1, right? Anything divided by itself equals 1. Now that is fairly straightforward, but we can also then start adding more complexity into this system. So we can write 32 a different way. For example, we could write 4 times 8, which equals 32, and we can divide that by 2 times 16, which equals 32. And again, because this simplifies down to the same thing, 32 divided by 32, we also know that it equals 1. So again, adding this value of 1, we could say that 4 times 8 divided by 2 times 16 times anything, let's say 742, equals 742, because again, we're just multiplying this value times 1. So 1 times anything equals itself. And that's really the nuts and bolts of unit conversions, is, again, using both of these rules. Anything divided by itself equals 1, and anything times 1 equals itself. So we've used both of those rules in order to state this. And when we do unit conversions, we're going to be doing basically this exact same thing, except we're going to start adding units instead of just using numbers. So the units that we're talking about are really any equality statement. So something like, we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Okay, and because we know that 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute, we know that we can write that then as a ratio, 60 seconds divided by 1 minute, that equals 1, because these again are the same thing, and if we multiply anything by this value, then it doesn't change the quantity that we started with, because this is, in a nutshell, equal to 1. So a lot of the conversions that we're going to use are basically following this idea. And so the common ones that we use are things like 5,280 feet in 1 mile, or 43,560 square feet in 1 acre, Or we might have something like 128 fluid ounces in 1 gallon. Okay, the other thing to keep in mind when we're doing the unit conversions in practice is that it doesn't matter if we're specifying two things that are equal to each other as a ratio. If we're doing that, it doesn't matter which one is the numerator and which one is the denominator. So 128 fluid ounces divided by 1 gallon would be the same as 1 gallon divided by 128 fluid ounces, right? So this then gets into which units do we need to actually figure out? What are we trying to get to in the end? And so we're going to go through an example where we actually look at how to do this. It's a relatively basic example that some folks are able to kind of do in their head without having to go through this. But I do want to use this example to actually go through the unit conversions because I think it helps kind of clarify how we're actually doing this. So for this example, we're going to say that the rate of herbicide that we want to apply, the label, the pesticide label tells us that we should apply 1 pint of 2,4-D per acre. So this is the application rate that we are supposed to use based on reading the pesticide label. Okay, so we have been asked to spray an area that is 12,000 square feet. So this is the area that is to be sprayed. And so the question then that we're going to ask here is how many fluid ounces of 2,4-D are required? And this is a pretty basic question because we need to know how much it's going to actually take to cover the area that we're going to spray. So every time I do a problem like this, I always try to make it a two-step process where we start with what we know, and then basically do unit conversions until we arrive at what we need. And thinking through these two steps from the beginning, what do we know and what do we need, almost always helps clarify how to do these unit conversions. And so in this case, the thing that we know is that our application rate is these 2 units, right? 1 pint of 2,4-D on every acre. And so if we state that, 1 pint of 2,4-D per acre. Okay, so that's what we know. Now what we need, eventually we want to figure out how many fluid ounces, and so we're going to need to convert pints into fluid ounces at some point. And then we also, what we need is to figure out how much we're going to need for this amount, which is in square feet. And so we're also going to eventually want to convert acres to square feet, which both of those pieces of information give us an idea of what we're going to actually need to do this unit conversion. So we're actually going to start multiplying again by these unit conversions, these ratios that are equal to 1. So we're going to start with this pints to fluid ounces conversion. So we're going to create a ratio, and we're going to say that 16 fluid ounces is equal to 1 pint. And again, because 16 fluid ounces is equal to 1 pint, this ratio is basically equal to 1. And so multiplying our pint per acre times this value doesn't change the overall quantity. Okay, and the reason we wrote it as 16 fluid ounces in the numerator is because if we see our original pint is in the numerator, we want to get to the point where we can actually cross that out and change it out, because the 1 pint in the denominator here will cancel with 1 pint in the numerator there, and we're left with fluid ounces per acre if we were to multiply this problem through right now. But we don't want per acre, we want per square feet. So we're going to do one more unit conversion. And we know that 1 acre, again, because it's in the denominator here, we want to put it in the numerator over on this side, is equal to 43,560 square feet. So that allows us to cancel acres out. And what we are left with in our units is fluid ounces of 2,4-D per square feet. And so if we actually run the math through, so basically we're getting 16 divided by 43,560. If we run that calculation through, we get 0.000367. Okay, and the units again are fluid ounces per square foot. Now it's important at this point to do a little reality check. So if you were to get a number that said you wanted to apply 16.7 ounces per square foot, you'd know that was not right. And so this is a really good time to check yourself. A square foot is a very small amount of area, so we should be getting a very small amount of product. And so in this case, this looks like we're within the realm of possibility. We may not be right, but we are definitely within the realm of possibility that this is a very small amount, 0.000367 fluid ounces per square foot. Okay, so this tells us how much to put on each square foot. And so the final step for this problem is to figure out how much we're going to be for the area that we're actually going to be spraying of 12,000 feet. So if we actually write down 12,000 feet squared times 0.000367 fluid ounces per single square feet, then our answer is 4.4 fluid ounces. So this is the amount we need to spray 12,000 square feet at the rate of 1 pint per acre.